sportswriterlessermunson.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
The Spins, Mac Miller. Rest in peace, Mac Miller. Did you ever listen to Mac Miller?
Yeah, I know who he is.
I knew who he was after he died.
Oh, really?
I brought to the song, I'm like, well, this guy's pretty good.
Yes.
He died in
He was
2018.
very
Oh, yeah.
Very talented.
All right, well, we have some good news.
Uh-oh.
We have some good news here on Chicago's Morning Answer. Amy Jacobson here, by the way. John Anthony filling in for Dan Proft today. Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Buffalo Bills' Damar Hamlin awake with his family in the hospital. And guess what his first question was? Do you know?
Yes.
What was it?
Did we win?
Who won the game?
Who won the game?
He was able to emerge and follow commands and even ask who had won the game. When he asked, did we win? The answer is yes. Damar, you won. You've won the game of life.
And that's so true. He won the game of life because he had cardiac arrest on the field. Yeah. They brought him back. And then when he got to the hospital, he had cardiac arrest again.
Yeah, wow.
But they said neurology.
Neurologically.
He's doing very well.
It's not only that the lights are on, we know that he's home, and that it appears that all the cylinders are firing within his brain.
And the Bills QB, Mr. Allen, is very excited because he just wants, this was kind of cute. Because they're all smitten, they're all excited. They want to see him again.
We just want to love up on him, so the next chance we get, I don't know when it's going to be. If we get to see him anytime soon, man, it's going to be awesome.
With more on this, let's welcome back to the program, and it has been a while, Lester Munson, former writer for Sports Illustrated, ESPN, and he was on the Chicago Sportswriter Show. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Back in the day, they sat at a round table. I think, were you guys smoking cigars back then, or were people smoking cigarettes, Lester?
There were cigars, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow.
No question about it. We had a giant fan above the table to try to draw the smoke away. It did not work.
That's great. And who was with you on that show?
Chet
Kopic, I remember. God bless his soul.
Chet Kopic occasionally. The regulars were Bill Gleason, who was the founder and the inventor of the show, Bill Jouse, one of the all-time great Chicago sports writers, and Rick Tellender, another of the great Chicago sports writers. He continues to write a column for the Sun-Times. He and I were colleagues at Sports Illustrated when we were doing that weekly show.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you miss it? Because sports has changed a lot since then. Because I used to watch that show all the time, and I loved Chet Kopic.
I miss it terribly. I miss Chet. We had so much fun doing that show. We would gather 90 minutes before we taped and try to figure out what we would talk about. We would have these arguments about what we should talk about. We should have taped those. They were the most hysterical things. I was laughing so hard, I never got any of my topics onto the show.
That's great.
And we could have shown those arguments. There was not foul language. It was just hilarious in so many ways.
Wow. So Damar Hamlin, my co-host, or the host of the show, Dan Proft, said that by Monday of next week, nobody's going to know or remember who he is. And I completely disagree because I think now, number 3, Hamlin, strong. What are your thoughts on that?
That's an interesting question. This be one of those incidents that is so melodramatic that we think there's going to be big, enormous, historic changes, or will it fade away like other player injury cases? I'm with you, Amy. I think that this actually may produce a level of solidarity and brotherhood among players that will finally allow them and their union to begin to achieve the benefits and the situations that other unions in hockey, baseball, and basketball have already achieved. The union has struggled to get what players need. This may finally get the players to understand that only with some level of unity and cohesion can they bargain with the owners and get seriously good health and pension benefits for life after football.
Yeah. Now, do you know if the cardiac arrest was caused by the hit, or is the NFL still trying? Because they had mentioned that they were going to do a separate investigation on that.
I'm sure they will investigate. They will have various doctors take a look at it. I don't think we're ever going to know that. It looked like just another hit in a football game, maybe a little bit harder, a little bit more dramatic of a collision than you see on a lot of tackles. But he did get up, and then he dropped in cardiac arrest after that. The connection, the causality and the connection here is probably never going to be resolved. But the point is that players may now understand they're not just at risk of a knee injury or a concussion. Yep. They're at risk of their lives now in playing this game.
And a lot of, the NFL came under fire for not canceling the game soon enough, and then there was a rumor that they're going to play the game again. What are your thoughts? Did the NFL act appropriately?
I think they did, which, given the history of the NFL, is a bit of a surprise. Back when President Kennedy was assassinated, the NFL a couple of days later played a full schedule of games. Unbelievable even to this day. The National Football League has a history of treating its players as commodities instead of as humanity. But here, finally, I think they got it right when they suspended the game. That was a surprise to me. And they also got it right when they have now canceled the game. So I would have expected the NFL to go the other way on both of those, but somebody is paying attention, and they're doing a better job than they did historically.
Yeah. Hey, Lester, I don't know if you've seen the dust-up that's happened between Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp didn't want to come back to the I forget the name of the show that they do together every day. And
because of his tweets?
Because of his tweets.
His tweet didn't offend me.
I read the tweets. He was saying he didn't understand why the NFL would cancel a game of this magnitude because the playoff positioning was in play.
Yeah, so
he got upset, and Shannon Sharp wouldn't come. Now, when you guys were doing your show, do you think that would have happened where somebody else, one of you guys would have
when you showed up
offended? Because we live in a culture today where everybody's offended by any and everything. Would you guys have allowed that to happen doing your sports reporter show?
Or would have you just taken it out on the air?
Right.
We talked about it on the air.
Never. We never would have let that interrupt the show that we were doing. You're exactly right. We would have discussed it on the air. The discussion would have been a very good discussion. We did have the capacity on that show to dig deep analytically on almost any issue. We all were very good friends. We would never try to one-up or to insult another that way. One of the best things about that show was the camaraderie that we had, so that we could argue about anything, take a break for a commercial, and come back on another topic and argue about that.
It's the greatest show.
And have a rollicking good time as we argued what were some fairly serious issues.
Correct. But you look at what's happening today amongst these so-called sports reporters.
They seem like movies. They act like they're movie stars, not sports reporters.
Prima donnas. I that's why I loved the show that you guys put on, because you guys tackled the hardest subjects of the sports world. And guess what? You guys didn't always agree, and that's okay. I mean, you look at how reporters are today, and you look back how you guys actually did it. I mean, they're worlds apart, right?
Well, sports reporters today, they don't know the facts. They kept saying, this is the first time this ever happened. But in 1971, Chuck Hughes with the Detroit Lions died. He had a heart attack, and he died an hour after the game.
Wow.
Do you remember covering that, Chuck? Or Lester? Do you remember covering Chuck Hughes?
That was before my time. However, I have been a Bears fan all my life. I recall watching that game. Yeah. Hughes played for the Detroit Lions. And what I remember most about that is when he collapsed on the field, the first person who realized how serious it was Dick Butkus. It was not a member of the Detroit Lions. Butkus ran to the guy and began waving his enormous arms to get trainers and doctors out there to help him. This is Dick Butkus, who, while at the University of Illinois, said to everybody, "I am not a pre-med. I am a football player." And he knew what had happened to Hughes and called the attention of the entire game and the entire audience to what was going on. It was a remarkable moment in so many ways.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Thank you for sharing that story. And then did they continue with that game or did they call it?
They continued with that game. Back then, the NFL, they knew how serious Hughes was. There's no question. He easily could have been dead on the field. He was pronounced at a hospital because they did not have medical personnel on the sideline at that time, at that game. And but they did continue with the game, in contrast to what happened with Damar Hamlin.
Wow. All right, well, Lester Munson, always a pleasure. And are you writing a book, or what are you doing these days?
I'm trying to finish a book. I wish I made more progress each day, but I'm trying to discipline myself. This is a big undertaking, but I'm getting there slowly, Amy, day by day.
Lester, I definitely understand. I'm writing my book right now. I've been writing it for 2.5 years now. I got to get focused on it.
Do any of you have working titles you want to share with us?
Not yet.
Not I. But I'll get there.
So is that how
Almost
you guys
there.
do it? So you write the book and then you do the title? Because I think you want to start with...
Yeah.
No? Okay.
No, you write the book first.
All right. Well, Lester Munson, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about sports and everything. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir.
And we look forward to your book.
I can't wait.
You'll come back on when it's ready. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my